What if everything you were ever told about money, work, and success was backwards? What if the people who told you to work hard, save responsibly, and play it safe were following a completely different rulebook behind closed doors? And what if the reason the rich keep getting richer isn't because they're smarter or more disciplined, or somehow chosen, but because they understand something the system never wanted you to see? Today, we're pulling the curtain back, because the truth is simple. The rich don't work harder. They work differently. They know how the financial system really functions, and they exploit the one secret that the middle class never learned. And no, it's not luck. It's not talent. It's not just invest in index funds. It's something far deeper. Something mechanical. Something structural. Something designed. So before we go deeper, let me ask you something as part of our community check-in. Where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments, because after this video, you'll see your entire national economy in a completely new light. And if you're here to understand money the way the wealthy actually use it, not the way textbooks pretend it works, hit subscribe and join us. We make videos the system hopes you never watch. Now, let's begin. You've heard it your whole life. Work hard and you'll succeed. But have you ever stopped and asked, why does nobody who's actually wealthy follow that advice? Seriously, name one billionaire who got rich by labor alone. You can't, because the system isn't built that way. The modern economy, the one you and I live in, wasn't designed to reward effort. It was designed to reward ownership. But that wasn't always true. So let's go back. After World War II, economies were simple. You worked, you earned, you saved, and you improved your life. A single salary could buy a house. A single salary could raise a family. Savings accounts actually grew your wealth. The average Western savings account yielded 5% interest, sometimes more. Sound familiar? Probably not, because today it's closer to 0.01%. But back then, this was the deal society offered. Work equals stability. Savings equals growth. Home equals wealth. People trusted the system because the system worked. Then something happened slowly at first and then all at once. Starting in the 1970s, the global economy quietly changed its engine. Wages flatlined. Prices rose. Homes became assets instead of shelter. Debt became a product, not a tool. But here's the key moment. When the US abandoned the gold standard in 1971, money stopped being money. It became credit. It became debt. It became infinite. And from that moment on, everything changed. Because if money is infinite, then saving becomes pointless. Working harder becomes obsolete. And the only people who grow wealth are the ones closest to the money printer. The rich didn't just adapt. They thrived. Meanwhile, the rest of society kept playing by the old rulebook, one that no longer existed. Sound familiar? Look around you today. CEOs earn 399x more than the average worker. The stock market rises even when unemployment spikes. Housing prices explode while wages barely crawl forward. This isn't an accident. This is architecture. Because the rich don't use money the way you do. They don't save it. They don't hoard it. They don't measure their wealth in dollars. They measure it in assets. Assets that produce income automatically. Assets that appreciate while you sleep. Assets that the system subsidizes, protects, and multiplies. The wealthy understand something powerful. Money is a tool, not the goal. And wealth comes from leverage, not labor. But if that's the case, then here's the uncomfortable question. Who gave them this knowledge? And why wasn't it given to you? Because that's where the story turns darker. By the early 2000s, two separate economies had formed. Economy number one, the worker economy, linear. Earn, spend, save. Dependent on wages. Punished by inflation. Economy number two, the wealth economy, non-linear. Own, borrow, grow, and repeat. Dependent on assets. Protected by the very banks that profit from it. If you've ever wondered why, the rich pays less tax. The rich survive every recession. The rich get richer even when markets crash. It's because they operate in economy number two. But here's the twist. The engine of economy number two is invisible. You don't learn it in school. You don't learn it at work. And textbooks don't even mention it. Why? Simple. Because if everyone knew how it worked, the system would collapse. And this brings us to the real secret. The one the wealthy rely on. The one you were never supposed to see. And the one that explains every financial crisis of the last 40 years. It's the hidden structure behind mortgages, corporate takeovers, government debt, bank bailouts, and your credit score. It's the reason the wealthy borrow money while the poor fear it. It's the mechanism every major bank uses to generate billions from thin air. And it's the same mechanism that caused the 2000 dot-com crash, the 2008 housing collapse, the 2020 liquidity crisis, and the inflation spike we're living through right now. So what is it? What is the one thing the rich know that the middle class never learned? Most people think wealth grows the way grass does, slowly, patiently, 1 centimeter at a time. But for the wealthy, money doesn't grow like grass. It grows like mold, quietly, exponentially, then suddenly, everywhere. And the reason is simple. The middle class uses money linearly. The rich use money recursively. Meaning, every dollar the middle class earns must be traded for time. Every dollar the wealthy earn can duplicate, collateralize, compound, or re-leverage into something bigger. The rich don't pull one lever. They pull the only lever that multiplies everything: leverage. But not the dangerous kind. The engineered kind, the protected kind, the kind built into the system itself. Most people hear leverage and think of credit card debt or payday loans. That's consumer leverage, the kind designed to enslave. But wealthy families use a different model. A model most people never see. A model that is mathematically unfair in their favor. Let's break it down. The first secret: wealth isn't earned. It's collateralized. The middle class thinks the goal is to save money. The wealthy know the real goal is to create collateral, because collateral unlocks credit. And credit at low interest is the closest thing to free money the system allows. This is why wealthy people, by appreciating assets, hold instead of sell, avoid liquidating investments, and borrow against what they own. They don't spend their money. They spend against their money. Because here's the trick. When you save $50,000, you have $50,000. When you collateralize $50,000, you may control $250,000. When that $250,000 creates cash flow, it becomes more collateral. This is the recursive loop, the engine, the cheat code. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Second secret: cash flow outranks effort middle class thinking. Work hard, earn more. Wealth class thinking: work once, get paid repeatedly. This difference alone explains most of the wealth gap. Because when you rely on effort, your income resets every morning. But when you rely on systems, your income resets nothing. Real estate that cash flows. Businesses with predictable revenue. Digital products with long shelf lives. Capital that earns yield. Equity that pays dividends. Credit deployed into income-producing assets. Loans taken against appreciating collateral. These aren't investments. They're machines. And while the middle class builds a career, the wealthy build machines. Third secret: wealth isn't speed, it's compression. The middle class thinks wealth is created slowly over decades. The wealthy know wealth is created in bursts, moments where everything compresses and time folds in on itself. A liquidity event, an acquisition, a refinance, a sudden spike in asset value, a 1031 exchange, equity from appreciation, a borrowing opportunity during low rates, a distressed acquisition during a downturn. The rich don't wait 30 years. They wait for a window, then act with force. Because leverage isn't something you use every day. It's something you use at the exact moment the system gives you an opening. That's when everything compounds at once. The fourth secret: the system protects those who use it correctly. Here's the controversial truth. The financial system rewards people who use leverage responsibly and punishes people who use leverage emotionally. This is not an accident. It's architecture. High income earners get low interest rates, better lending terms, access to private credit, favorable underwriting, compounding assets, tax efficiency, and easier refinancing. Low income earners get higher rates, less favorable terms, predatory credit, depreciating assets, high tax proportions, poor liquidity, and no runway for mistakes. It's not fair. It's structural. But structures can be used by anyone if you approach them with strategy instead of survival. The wealthy don't game the system. They play the game by the system's rules. Rules that the average person never learns. Until now. Fifth secret: the rich don't work harder, they work at the correct layer. There are only 3 layers of the financial world. Layer 1, labor, time for money. You trade hours, you trade effort, you trade your life. This is where the middle class lives. Layer 2, capital, money for money. Your money works, your time doesn't. This is where the wealthy begin. Layer 3, Leverage, control without ownership. Your assets and the bank's money work together. Your role becomes directional, not operational. This is where the ultra-wealthy operate. Every financial decision moves you either toward leverage or away from it. Every month you don't build an asset. Every year you don't deploy capital. Every decade you don't generate collateral. You stay in layer 1, even if you work harder than anyone you know. The rich aren't smarter. They simply travel between the layers, while everyone else stays stuck in one. The sixth secret. Wealth accelerates when you stop paying for things. The wealthy rarely buy things outright. They don't pay for homes. They don't pay for cars. They don't pay for businesses. They don't even pay for investments. They only pay for control. Banks, credit markets, and investors pay for the rest. This is the hidden rule behind 90% of wealthy families. Own nothing. Control everything, because ownership triggers taxes, liability, and friction. Control triggers leverage, access, and compounding. The middle class avoids debt out of fear. The wealthy avoid fear through education. One group freezes, the other executes. That alone changes everything. The final secret of part 2. Wealth isn't about income, it's about optionality. Once you build collateral, credit, and cash flow, you gain the one thing no job can give you: freedom to choose. Work becomes optional. Location becomes optional. Time becomes optional. Decisions become proactive instead of reactive. When the middle class thinks, I need more income, the wealthy think, I need more options. Income follows. Leverage multiplies. Compounding accelerates. Time compresses. The engine kicks in. This is why the rich don't work harder. They work at the right altitude. At the altitude where small decisions create big effects, and big effects create generational outcomes. The truth you need to accept before anything else: wealth begins with one thing the middle class rarely has: runway. Not money, runway. A gap between what you earn and what you owe. A space where you can move, plan, deploy, and build. This is the only requirement to start. Even $50 a month of runway is enough to trigger a compounding machine when used strategically. The wealthy don't start rich. They start by creating space, then using that space wisely. Let's begin. Step 1. Shift from income thinking to collateral thinking. The middle class asks, how do I increase my income? The wealthy ask, how do I increase my collateral? Because collateral is the gateway to leverage, and leverage is the gateway to multiplication. Your goal for the next 12 to 24 months is simple. Convert your effort into capital. Convert capital into collateral. Convert collateral into credit. Convert credit into cash flow. Think of it like climbing a ladder. Time to money to assets to leverage to freedom. Every step is predictable and repeatable. Step 2. Build your first collateral base, even if it is small. You don't need $50,000 to begin. You don't need a six-figure salary. You don't need seed capital, but you do need a base. A base can be a $2,000 emergency fund, a $5,000 savings cushion, a $10,000 brokerage account, a $7,500 side business profit stash, a $3,000 certificate of deposit, or a reliable $500 month surplus. What matters isn't the amount. What matters is that it exists. Because once you have a base, banks see you differently. With collateral, small or large, you can now begin the real game. Leverage. Step 3. Build systems that pay you, not jobs that drain you. This is where ordinary people break the cycle. Instead of upgrading lifestyle, you upgrade systems. Everything in your financial life must eventually point toward 3 pillars. Pillar 1, cash flow assets, something that pays you monthly. Some examples: digital products, freelance systems with contractors, dividend stocks, small real estate deals, renting out assets you own, or a subscription micro business. Pillar 2, appreciation assets, something that grows over time. Some examples would be index funds, crypto blue chips, REITs, skill sets that increase earnings and equity in a business. Pillar 3, leverage access points, tools that let you multiply. Examples can be credit lines, HELOCs, asset-backed loans, 0% balance transfer capital, business credit, and collateralized lending. With even one system in each pillar, you enter the economic layer the wealthy operate in. Step 4. The first multiplier. Separate your identity from your income. Most people say, I am my income. If my job goes, I go. If my skills fade, I fade. If my hours stop, my money stops. This mindset prevents leverage. Here's the wealthy mindset. My income is a product. My identity is the owner of the product. If you can make $1 online, you can make $10. If you can make $10, you can make $100. If you can make $100, you can make $1,000. Not because the work is harder, but because the system does the work. Once your income becomes a product, you are no longer the engine. You are the owner of the engine. This psychological shift opens every financial door. Step 5. Use small leverage responsibly to accelerate compounding. You don't start with big leverage. That's how people get destroyed. You start with micro leverage, safe, structured, and controlled. Examples can be using 0% interest credit for inventory you pre-sold, using a small loan to buy a machine that produces monthly revenue, using business credit to build a small cash flowing service, borrowing against a $5,000 portfolio to invest $2,000 into skill building, using a personal line of credit to buy equipment for a profitable side business. Micro leverage turns linear effort into exponential results. Once your system proves it can pay its own debt, you scale responsibly, strategically, mathematically. This is how wealthy families expand. Not by gambling, but by structured amplification. Step 6. Stabilize cash flow before scaling to bigger leverage. The middle class scales income too early. The wealthy scale systems only after they stabilize. The rule is simple. If cash flow pays the debt, you scale the system. If cash flow does not pay the debt, you fix the system. You scale what works, not what you wish would work. Once 2 to 3 systems are stable, you now hold the holy trinity: collateral, cash flow, creditworthiness. This is the checkpoint where wealth becomes nearly inevitable. Step 7. Open the door to real leverage, the kind truly wealthy people use. Now and only now do you enter the world that transforms net worth dramatically. This is where you use the same tools the wealthy use: collateralized credit lines, leveraging an asset into a second asset, refinancing equity into cash flow, buying cash flow businesses, strategic real estate acquisition, equity borrowing for investment, private credit markets, business lines of credit, and accessing capital at low rates to buy income-producing assets. This is the layer where wealth multiplies without increasing your effort. This is the layer the middle class never enters. This is the layer the wealthy live inside. And now it's open to you. Step 8. Income isn't the goal. Optionality is. When you can choose what to work on, where to live, who to partner with, what risks to take, what opportunities to pursue, what you tolerate, what you avoid, when to rest, when to pursue, when to expand, when to collapse debt, when to take profit, that is wealth. Not a number, not a bank balance, not a title, not a salary. The ability to choose is the only real luxury in the financial world. And once you build your machine, you unlock it forever. The rich don't work harder because they're lucky, or chosen, or gifted, or born into the right families. They work differently because they learned something earlier. Money is not earned. Money is engineered. And once you understand the engine, the levers, the ladders, the layers, the loop, you no longer become someone who tries to get ahead. You become someone who can't fall behind. Because the system that once trapped you now works for you. Quietly, compounding, recursively. And the moment your money stops depending on your labor, that's the moment you join the group everyone assumes was born privileged. Not because you worked harder, but because now you know what they know.